All right, so chapter 1, section 7, the distributive property. Does anybody remember what the word distribute means? What does the word distribute mean? What?
Give
or hand out. Yeah, you're going to share equally. So I could go to a food shelf and I could distribute baskets to people, right? Food baskets, for example. So distribute means to hand out. So if I have 3 in front of these parentheses, remember I'm going to distribute the 3 to everything inside the parentheses. What is 3 times 4? 12. Plus what's 3 times 7? 21. Oh, it told us to use the order of operations, didn't it? Doesn't matter. So what's 12 plus 21? I'm sorry? 33. Did you get 33 otherwise using the order of operations as well? Yeah. And you would, because the distributive property means I can hand out those numbers to each of them, or I can follow the order of operations and do the same thing. So today you're going to have a variable inside of those parentheses that you're going to have to use. In number 2, 5 plus 6 times negative 2. Negative 22. Number 3, a negative 9 plus 8 inside parentheses. And a negative 1 times a negative 1 is positive 1. Down here, negative 5 or negative 5/10 times 8. What is half of 8? Is 4. So a negative times positive would be a negative 4. Or you could have done 8 minus 6 inside instead of doing the distributive property. 8 minus 6 would be 2. Now, what's half of 2? 1. Positive 1 or negative 1? It would be a negative 1. Over here, what's 10 minus 4 inside parentheses? Now, 1/2 times t times 6. What's half of 6? 3. So my answer is going to be 3t. What property did I just use? 1/2 times t times 6. I asked you what half of 6 was. And you told me 3. What property did I use to multiply 1/2 and 6 together? Commutative property of multiplication. We changed the order that we multiplied those 3 numbers. In this one, change subtraction to addition, change the sign of the second number. What do you get inside those parentheses? Negative 4. Is that how I'm supposed to leave my answer? No. What is a negative 4 times m? Negative 4m. We do not have any parentheses. We do not have any multiplication dots. We leave it as number first or integer first, variable second. Any questions on those 6 warm-up questions? Okay, the distributive property. So we said the distributive property means to hand out or to give, correct? So remember, if I'm going to take a times everything inside those parentheses, I have a times b and a times c. What symbol is going to go in between the 2 of them? Addition. The addition sign. If it's a subtraction sign that is in between the 2 of them, I'm still going to multiply a times b and a times c, but now because there's subtraction inside the parentheses, it's now going to be subtraction. That is only true, however, if you're multiplying times a positive number on the outside. If you're multiplying times a negative number, it changes the value of everything inside those parentheses. So, next one is how we're used to seeing it. 3 times the quantity, 4x plus 16. We need to distribute the 3 to everything inside these parentheses. What is 3 times 4x? And what's 3 times positive 16? I'm sorry? 48. What kind of 48? Positive 48. And it was a positive 16 and a positive 3. So it should be a positive 48 between. Does it matter that the number we're distributing is at the back side? It does not. Notice, though, that when it's on the back side, if it's a negative number, it has to be in parentheses to distribute. Without those parentheses, it's going to be subtracting 2 from it. Okay, so you still do it in the same manner. What is a negative 2 times 6x?
Negative 4.
And what is a negative 2 times a positive 18?
Negative 36.
Negative 36. Now, notice inside parentheses, everything was positive, but we distributed a negative, so it turned everything to the opposite sign. Everything became negative when we distributed that negative number. We can use the distributive property even for something like 6 times 48. Inside parentheses, what's another way of viewing the number 48? 40 plus 8. What is 6 times 40? And what's 6 times 8? Now add those two together. 240 plus 48 is
188.
still using the distributive property, but understanding the concept that I can take a number like 48 and break it into an addition question of 40 plus 8. Now it allows me to do a little bit of mental math without having to pull out a calculator. Oh, fractions, we love them, right? Put these all over 1. When we multiply fractions, we're supposed to multiply straight across, correct? So you have to just make everything a fraction. You have the option of doing some cross-reducing or simply multiplying those numerators and multiplying those denominators. You have to make sure, though, at the end, your answer is in lowest terms. So, if I multiplied straight across, what would 2 times 6 be? 12. On the bottom, what's 3 times 1? 3. Put in your addition sign. Now, we're doing 2/3 times 15x. What's 2 times 15x?
30x.
And what's 1 times 3? Now, we simply have to just put those two fractions in order to reduce those two fractions. So, what is 12 divided by 3? 4. 12 divided by 3 is just 4. Plus, what's 30 divided by 3? 10. And put your x. So it's 4 plus 10x. 3/5. We're simply going to do the same thing. Put 20 over 1. What number is in front of the c right now? A 1 is there, or even a negative 1 if you want to view it that way. So you can make that a fraction as well. Multiply going straight across. 3 times 20. 60. And on the bottom, 5 times 1. Minus, what is 3/5 times 1 over 1? Still 3/5. Now when you write it, I would write 3/5 and then put the variable c right next to it. Let me clean up my handwriting a little bit. Is 60 over 5 in lowest terms? Okay, so what is 60 divided by 5? 12 minus, we'd say 3/5 c. It might be a little bit easier to do it with 12r plus 6 because it's easy to do half of a number, right? What is half of 12r?
6r.
And what's half of 6?
3.
So 6r plus 3. Any questions on those? Next, use the distributive property to simplify 26 times 98. How might we use the distributive property to help us in a question like this? Any thoughts on how we could use the distributive property here? Without the use of our calculators. Put your calculators down, turn them over. We need brain power right now. Riley?
20 in parentheses, or 20 plus 6, and then multiplied by 90 plus 8, and then use the distributive property.
But then we're distributing two different numbers. Have we done that? Have I distributed 20 times 90 and 6 times 90 and that adds a whole nother element. We gotta keep it simpler than that.
26 times 90 plus 8?
26 times 90 plus 8? I think there's another number that's easier to use than 90. What? Someone said it. 100. What can I do to 100 to get to 98? Subtract 2 off of it. Now, if I distribute 26 times 100, what number do you get? 2,600. And what's 26 times 2? I'm sorry? 52, did I hear you say? Now, what's 2,600 minus 50? 2,550, right? But this is 52, so what's my answer going to be? 2,548. Find the cost of 4 CDs that cost $12.99 each. Again, calculators are not going to be used right now. We need to use brain power at its best. Meaning, how can we use the distributive property to help us calculate this cost? Cool.
4 times 13 minus 100.
So 4 CDs, right? Times $13 minus 1 penny. Is what you're saying? Okay. What's 4 times 13? We can do a miniature version of the distributive property, right? What's 4 times 10?
40.
What's 4 times 3?
12.
40 plus 12.
52.
So it's $52 minus what's 4 times a penny? 4 hundredths, or 4 cents. So now $52 take away 4 cents is going to be $51.96. So use the distributive property for 4 times 13. Use the distributive property for taking out those pennies. It's all understanding how to take numbers apart and put them together rather than relying on our calculator. Terminology. Coefficients are these numbers that sit in front of variables, and you take the signs with them. So this is a -6 in front of a squared, a -5 in front of AB, a +4 in front of the B, and a +3 in front of the B, paying attention to the subtraction signs and the addition signs, okay? Coefficients sit in front of the variable. A constant is usually at the very end. It never has a variable. The constant is oftentimes your shipping cost that gets added or subtracted at the end. So remember when we would have a question like, it costs you $5 per CD plus $6 shipping and handling? The plus $6 for shipping and handling, that's your constant. If I have a question like, we had the one about renting a moving van, right? It cost me 12 cents per mile plus $150. My constant is the $150. No matter what, it's going to cost me $150. That is going to stay constant no matter how many miles I drive that moving van. In the shipping one, doesn't my shipping cost stay exactly the same no matter how many CDs I purchased? That's my constant, okay? The coefficient is the number that I'm multiplying by each time. So if it's 12 cents per mile, the 12 cents is my coefficient. If it is $5 per CD, it's $5 is my coefficient in that case. Terms. We've used in the past combined like terms, correct? Everything in here is a term. So in our example here, we have 5 terms in that question. Like terms would be those then that have the exact same variables. So 4b and 3b are like terms. If I have an example like, are 3a squared and 3a like terms? 3a squared and 3a, are those like terms? No, they are not. 3a squared is the same thing as 3 times a, and 3a is just 3a, correct? That's not the same thing. They have to be the same in everything. Exponents have to be identical with those variables. So if it would have been 3a squared plus 3a squared, now those are like terms. Simplify. Is this where you're at in your notes too? Did everybody get those coefficients and constants filled into their notes? All right, so simplify. What does that mean when that negative sign is sitting out front of those parentheses? Times the negative 1 is correct. So you have to imagine you have a negative 1 being distributed to everything inside those parentheses. So what's going to happen to all of the terms on the inside of the parentheses? Turn to the opposite sign, correct. So let me erase this so we can see what we have. So what is a negative times 5q going to be? Good, negative 5q. What is a negative times a negative 6 going to be? Positive 6. Negative 5q plus 6. Try simplifying 5x minus 3, or the quantity 3 minus 2x. Any guesses as to what has to be done first there? We have to distribute. This is like having a negative 1 sitting here, and you are correct. It has to go throughout those parentheses. So we haven't done anything with the 5x. What is a negative 1 times 3? And what's a negative 1 times a negative 2x? So make sure that you are reading this as the term negative 2x. Are you done? Now what can you do? Combine like terms. So you have 5x is a like term with 2x. So 5x is here plus 2x is there is a total of 7x minus 3 would be your final answer. Questions? Negative 2w squared plus w squared, are those like terms? Yep, they both have a w squared, right? So I really just have to ask myself, this is a 1 in front of it, what's a negative 2 plus a positive 1? Negative 1. So then I would say it's a negative w squared. You will not see an answer key that says negative 1w squared. It's simply going to say negative w squared. When you see the word quantity, did I miss a couple questions? Okay, hold on for just a second. Oh, there they are. Okay, we're coming back to them. Quantity. When you read the word quantity, quantity means parentheses. And then as soon as you say quantity, everything you say after that goes inside of those parentheses. So we have 3 times the quantity. So as soon as you hear 3 times the quantity, record your parentheses. Now everything inside those parentheses is what I'm going to read next. 3 times the quantity, x minus 5. So inside parentheses, you record that x minus 5. The product means to do what? Okay, so I know I'm going to have a multiplication question. The product of 14 and the quantity. So what should I be recording already? The product of 14 and the quantity. What order? I heard parentheses, so yes, I have to have parentheses. Where's the 14 going? In the front, because I'm taking 14, I'm going to multiply or find the product of 14 times whatever comes inside those parentheses when it says quantity. Now, inside the parentheses, it says the quantity of 8 plus W. So 8 plus W inside those parentheses. And the last one for this slide, the product of -6 and the quantity of 7 minus M. You record what you think it's going to be before we go over it. Product of -6 and the quantity of 7 minus M. What do you got?
6 on the outside.
What kind of a 6? -6 on the outside, and then
7 minus M on
in that order, 7 minus M?
the inside.
Yes. It did not say 7 less than M, it said 7 minus M, so that is correct. All right, we have 2 questions left, and these are the 2 that kids get wrong the most often. If I were to follow the order of operations, could I do what's inside parentheses right now? Not unless I know what y is, correct? So what is the next thing that you have to do? If I cannot combine 6y plus 5, what do I have to do next? Distribute. What am I distributing? A -2 has to be distributed. So we're doing nothing with that 4 yet. What is a -2 times a positive 6y? -12y. And what is a -2 times a positive 5? -10. Make sure you have that recorded. Are we done with that question? No, we're not. I need to combine like terms. Correct? So I'm going to use the commutative property of addition here to combine my like terms. What is 4 minus 10? And I've done nothing with that -12y. Could I also say that my answer was a -12y minus 6? They're the exact same thing. It does not matter. Do you know which one your book oftentimes uses more than the other? What? Someone said something, I didn't hear what you said. Variable first? The one with the variable oftentimes goes first. In chapter 6, we're going to call this a linear equation. So the one with the variable usually goes first. It doesn't have to, but in the answer key, you'll oftentimes see it that way. Okay, last one. 7a minus 4 times the quantity 5a plus 6. Can we combine like terms 5a and 6? No, they're not like terms. So then what? Distribute what? -4. So bring the 7a down. -4 times 5a. -20 what? A. And -4 times a positive 6? -24. Combine like terms. 7a take away 20a. -13a. Bring down your -24. And we are done. Questions on the distributive property?